Thank you for listening or starting to listen to the Jeremiah Gunn Show. This is the Jeremiah Gunn Show. This is CSN, the Common Sense Network, part of the ISI broadcasting system. We are broadcasting from behind enemy lines to the resistance, to the patriots, the few, the proud, I guess the 10%ers, the 80-20 rule of sociology. Only 20% are paying attention. And that 20 is divided into two groups that are fighting each other. And the 80%, they would go with whatever side won. In the meantime, they're just going to kind of check out. And so I'm speaking to you who care. Does anybody hear? Does anybody see what I see? I'm calling you to listen. This is the Jeremiah Gunn Show. This is dedicated to Charlie Kirk. And this is episode number, 4. Episode number 4, I think. And we spell that F-O-R-E, like in golf. Look out. Heads up. Or F-O-R. It's for you. It's for us, the United States of America. So first, don't speed it up yet, please. I want you to listen to this important artist. I think his name is Mitchell David Lee. And here we go. It's a theme of our show, which is the real race in black and white.
I want to know, am I racist? Am I racist? Why do you judge by the color of our faces? Is racial division just a plan by the matrix? They burn down our cities, then they get called courageous. Instead of condemning the media, give them praises. Oh man, what is the benefit? When the media ruin our images. If you a white male, you get called a white supremacist. If your opinion and the narrative have differences, couple that in with all the censorship, and the damage they can do is limitless. No Brad Cooper, but celebrities defending it. Oh man, they gon' say I'm racist, but they call everybody racist. I guess that mean nobody is racist. Now it doesn't mean much when you say it. When you say it, they gon' say you racist, but they call everybody racist. I guess that mean nobody is racist. Now it doesn't mean much when you say it. They make you think that there's no way you can win. Another news clip, here we go again. Judging somebody by the color of their skin. Meanwhile, it's all coming to an end. They ask why, and I just tell them, listen. Are you mad because we don't think you a victim? You make bad choices, then you blame it on the system. Nowadays being white means you can't have an opinion, especially if you Christian. Tell me, is it racist to not want our cities burned down by these mobs? To not want our stores always getting robbed? Is it racist to treat our racists like it's a god? Oh man, they gon' say I'm racist, but they call everybody racist. I guess that mean nobody is racist. Now it doesn't mean much when you say it. When you say it, they gon' say you racist, but they call everybody racist. I guess that mean nobody is racist. Now it doesn't mean much when you say it. When you say it. Each day will it set us free? Will you set us free? One time say it. Each day will it set us free? No, say it. They gon' say I'm racist, but they call everybody racist. I guess that mean nobody is racist. Now it doesn't mean much when you say it. When you say it, they gon' say you racist, but they call everybody racist. I guess that mean nobody is racist. Now it doesn't mean much when you say it. When you say it, they gon' say I'm racist, but they call everybody racist. I guess that mean nobody is racist. Now it doesn't mean much when you say it. One more time, they gon' say you racist, but they call everybody racist. I guess that mean nobody is racist. Now it doesn't mean much when you say it. When you say it. When you say it. Will you set us free? Woo. Set us free.
That was from a movie called Am I Racist, made by Matt Walsh. And I think the one he made first was What is a Woman? He's kind of a Martin Luther King. He's kind of a Frederick Douglass, Thomas Paine, Abraham Lincoln, John Brown, Charlie Kirk, and Nick Shirley's the latest. He goes around, all he does, what's that saying? Film is truth at 24 frames per second or something. All he does is interview people and find out who the real racists are, who they really are. This is the Jeremiah Gunn Show, and we're talking about race, which I think is the real race. And we're talking about black and white in this case. We're going to talk about Hispanic endemic later, pandemic, scamdemic, Hispanic. But for right now, we're talking about the brown that they call black. And I have to make a correction, first of all. I don't know why the mind does what it does, but it does what it does when it does it. And when you get older, if you got a whole bunch of data in there, and you're always thinking about things, always processing data, you screw up. And I don't know why but I don't want to sound like I'm confident, and I don't want a fact checker to say, oh, you don't even know this. He don't even know that, whatever. As if they're going to give me that much time a day, but maybe. So what I was doing the other day, I was talking, and I was talking about this thing called the white man's burden in our last show. The White Man's Burden was a story or a poem where it basically says that the white man needs to take care of the browns and the blacks and the yellows. It just falls to us. This was an English person writing it, and they were in charge of India and China and Africa and the Caribbean and so forth. Australia, New Zealand, all these things. And so they had these native people that were black and brown and yellow. That's what they used to call it. I don't know what else to call it. So let's do that. And red, if they were in this hemisphere, the native Siberians. So they had this white man's burden where it's our job to show them how to live, take care of them, run their life. And, actually Obama was accused of this. Kind of trying to say that he was being an imperialist. He was being the white man's burden. So anyway, when I said all this about the white man's burden, I said it's Charles Dickens. Well, I don't know why one British name gets written over another one, but it wasn't. I know who it was. It was Rudyard Kipling, the famous author of the poem called If, which every young man should read. My son-in-law memorized it, which is phenomenal to me. As a young man, he memorized it. So it was Rudyard Kipling, not Charles Dickens. But I know that. They were both brilliant guys. Okay, so secondly, see those movies, Am I Racist? And What is a Woman? These are the two issues that are being called in, race and gender. Because the left thinks they can just shut you down by going, oh, I see, so you're racist, you're misogynist, you're Islamophobic, you're homophobic, you're xenophobic, and practice medicine without a license, and be the real racists as they're calling someone else a racist. This is always the case. So it's time to stop lying. Stop this lying game. They made a movie called The Crying Game. This is the lying game. We got to stop. That guy was singing about truth. Those were great words. I loved that song. That's why I let it play all the way through. I love it. It's great. And he makes another one. What is that called? Oh, it was Am I Racist? And then the other one that he made was called, what was it? Let's see. Am I Racist? And come on, what was it? It's really good. We'll play it next time. It was called, Am I Racist? Do the work. It's great. I almost want to tease you with a little bit of it. It's so good. I am not a quintessential classic fan of rap, but sometimes it does real good. So stop these lying. We just saw this thing about movies. There's a saying, I guess they're making a remake of Ulysses, the Odyssey and the Iliad. These are works by Homer, ancient Greek, part of Western Civ. Hey, hey, ho, ho, Western Civ has got to go, chanted Jesse Jackson, who never thought for 5 seconds what he meant by that. But the mob was yelling it. So Hollywood doesn't make movies, it makes deals. So what are they doing? They're redoing it. And, my wife and I watched a movie that took place in World War I in England. And England's doing this because it was made in 2013, 2022, 20 whatever. You have to have black people playing Chinese and black women in roles that they never, ever would have been in England, and even in England. And, white young bros falling madly in love with these actually homely black women, but they just go crazy for them, and as if in World War I guess. I don't know, but there's this saying, Hollywood doesn't make movies, it makes deals. I never saw Hamilton. I understand it was a Broadway play, but I think they had a black guy playing Hamilton. Okay. So in this movie, The Odyssey, they're doing all kinds of stuff, and they had it written by what Matt Walsh, I watched him talk about it. He described her as a barista from Portland who just is heading out the door to a No Kings rally with her grandmother. She's got her tattooed arm sleeves, and she's feminist glasses and all this. Oh, feminist poetry, blah, blah, blah. So that's the guy that the director chose to write the translation of the Iliad, which is this classic, quintessential Western civilization piece of literature. So why even make the movie? I mean, if you don't like, Jane Austen and Pride and Prejudice stuff, okay, you don't like it, but you don't have to steal everything valuable, everything interesting, everything vital to it, and make, Mr. Darcy into a lesbian woman that Elizabeth Bennet falls in love with, and then her sister gets knocked up and gets an abortion, and then and one sister's Chinese and one's black and one's Mexican and one's a very obese butch-haired lesbian. And why even do it? I mean, you're going to make the Chronicles of Narnia that C.S. Lewis wrote, and you're going to make Aslan a translan? Is he going to be a lion that's changing into a tiger or something? What's the point? What are you doing? Hollywood doesn't make movies; it makes deals. They have to do this, and they have to make black people more prominent in these movies, and Asians and Hispanics. In fact, one of the actors in The Odyssey, he's Hispanic, and he was on record as saying, "Hey, nobody but a Hispanic should ever play a Hispanic." Well, he's playing a Greek in this movie, and I guess he's hoping that they'll pull those videos of him saying that. I don't know. These guys they make a living standing in front of a microphone and a camera, and they don't realize that something might come back to haunt them if anybody cared. So they have to make these movies like every single TV commercial, every single couple. Even Biden commented on this. I don't know why, but I guess he feels like he has to. Every single couple is mixed race or same sex. Every single one. I mean, what? When this coming out of the closet and all this started in the late 1900s, they talked about how it's 1% of the population. And I think Norm Macdonald said if you went by TV, it's 100% are either same sex, homosexual, or mixed race, or something. And they started this with Betty Crocker. And Aunt Jemima, they had this image of Betty Crocker, and I read all these articles about how they'd get these focus groups and psychologists and everybody, and it's like, well, let's make her kind of this and kind of that, and she's just too white. Can't have that. It doesn't matter that she was a thing, just like Charlie Brown or Fat Albert or anybody that was a thing, and now you got to make it. Let's make Fat Albert white and skinny. Why not? The guy who created that character fell out of favor. You think you're doing something for black people and Asians and everything by putting them in situations they couldn't possibly. Just like every movie you watch has to be like every TV commercial you watch. You're just pandering. You're just pandering. You gotta show us a couple of guys folding laundry together and then kissing or something. That's how you have to push it on to us. That yeah. Oh, so what you're trying to say is a certain percent of the population is like that. So the way you're going to convey that is everybody in the population is like that. Every time you see an image, it's going to be that. But these are the same people who say that, if you didn't like the violence or sex, well, just turn it off. Just turn it off. You have the right. It's just a TV show. It's just a movie. And by the way, these TVs, these movies don't influence society. They don't influence society. The Columbine shooters, Klebold and Harris, they watched a movie called Trenchcoat Mafia, or, there's a song about how great suicide is, and more than one, but no, that doesn't. But there's the same people that say TV and movies don't influence society, but advertising does. Otherwise, why would they do it? Why wouldn't somebody sold somebody the idea that it influences society? So let's kind of get caught up. We talked about the Civil War. The Democrats started it, kept it going for 100 years. And then we had a bunch of Republican Civil War heroes that were presidents. And then they always, everything that comes up facing us in life is two choices. Choose you this day whom you will serve. The culture war is a civil war. You're going to have to pick a side. So you're going to decide between Malcolm X and Jesse Jackson. They weren't the same. MLK, Martin Luther King, or Al Sharpton, or Jesse Jackson. They weren't the same. Jesse Jackson rode his coattails to prominence, but they weren't the same person. Booker T. Washington or W.E.B. Du Bois, who was a communist. They weren't the same. They were both black, both light-skinned, but I guess that doesn't matter. Joy Reid or Thomas Sowell, Obama or Ben Carson. Let's go back in history just a little bit. The Democrats' treatment of blacks. Jesse Owens. There's a great movie called The Race. I think it's just called The Race. Just great. I read the book, and Jesse Owens was how we showed Hitler. We showed Hitler that he was wrong about white supremacy. So Jesse Owens was not. It's traditional for the chancellor or the king or whoever to meet the winner of the gold medal, and he was the greatest athlete. He didn't win the decathlon, but he won all the track and field events, fastest human alive, all this stuff. And he said, when I wasn't invited to meet Hitler, but I wasn't invited to the White House either. And I think when he went, he had to go in the back door. And, FDR, he created all of these communists. He was more of a communist and a socialist and a progressive like Woodrow Wilson. And he was a racist. He created these organizations. Everything had to be a 3-letter acronym, and the conservative Republicans were going crazy. You're just communism. His vice president was a communist. MLK was a Marxist. So was Thomas Sowell, because that's all that was being pushed on him. Marxists like to come into a country, divide, conquer, stir up hatred between classes and races, and so FDR created all of these stupid things during the Depression until World War II pulled us out of the Depression, not his stupid programs. But he had one of them was called the National Recovery Administration, WPA, Works Progress Administration, AAA, Agricultural Adjustment Association, Act, Agency, whatever the hell. That's the one that communist genius ran, his vice president. But anyway, they had this one called NRA, and it was supposed to give people jobs. My mother-in-law went through the Depression, and she said that they called WPA, we play around. It's the old Caltrans joke. Paying people to not work, paying farmers not to farm. Okay, great. Full employment, FDR. Anyway, they had this one called NRA, National Recovery Administration, to give people jobs. Well, guess who didn't get the jobs? Blacks called it the Negro Runaround, NRA. Now, we mentioned the urban renewal. James Baldwin called it Negro removal. They had these communities, Harlem, etc., and they said they moved them out, and they built these crappy Soviet apartment buildings, and then they couldn't get back in. I mean, it kind of ruined their community. Talk to people who went through it, like Thomas Sowell, so forth. And they just took more from them to do more to them, under the pretense of caring for them. FDR was making deals. He was trying to get us to help England in World War I because we were so stupid isolationist. We don't get involved in the war until it's too late, almost too late. But he was trying to help by doing this thing called Lend-Lease. And he had to explain to the Americans, well, what are we getting out of it? We're giving destroyers to England. What are we getting for it? Too stupid to understand that we were saving civilization in a war that could have been prevented entirely if we had any brains and guts, or any combination of the two. So he tells Churchill, hey, I got to get something. So Churchill is giving him islands in the Caribbean and things like that. And Churchill gets a little bit frustrated by it. He says, you know what, my people here in England, they're not going to be too happy to see us giving away all of our islands just for some loan of some destroyers that's in our both of our best interests. And I have this recording. I can't play it right now, but I recorded it from a book recorded book, where FDR is talking to him, and he says, hey, you know what? You want all these dark-skinned people on these islands? I don't. We got enough of them here. And, I'll play it for you if you want, but it's kind of ugly. He says, we got enough of these dark-skinned gentlemen. We don't need them here. We got too many of them here. And that's all you got on those islands. So you tell your British people that if they want these dark-skinned gentlemen that are nothing but a headache, take them. That was the beautiful FDR. Now, his wife was friendly to probably another woman, but he was an adulterer, so whatever. But she was friendly to black people. She rode with the Tuskegee Airmen when everybody thought that wasn't done. So that's good. Tuskegee Airmen, man. Great story. I tried to get a hold of the Washington Redskins because they were going to change their name. They can't be called Redskins, even though the Redskins, the Indians, want them to be called Redskins. They're very proud of it. And the Atlanta Braves and the Cleveland Indians and any high school or college it was called Indians, like Stanford was before they had to change it to the color cardinal and have a tree as their mascot. It's just too much dope and LSD up there. But what were we talking about? Okay, so the Redskins. So I thought, well, shoot, it's in Washington, D.C., ain't it? Washington, D.C. It's a city that Woodrow Wilson resegregated after all the Republican presidents that preceded him desegregated it and integrated it. Woodrow Wilson, the racist, eugenicist, good friend of the founder of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, who was a fellow eugenicist. That means that you want to kill certain populations off so that they don't screw up your gene pool. And today, not fairly recently, the head of Planned Parenthood is a black woman. And man, she's all over it. Just like Kamala Harris, who never had a baby that I know of. tried with Willie Brown, but God, maybe she had abortions. I don't know, but she thinks it's just all settled. So abortion was really, if you think about it for 15 seconds, that was the modern Democrat version of slavery. Who is executed more? Every 8 seconds? Mostly black women. So, Margaret Sanger and her racist eugenicist hero, Woodrow Wilson, and she was his hero, they got what they wanted. They got rid of Margaret Sanger called blacks human weeds. You got to pull weeds. You got to spray Roundup on them. That's your Democrat leadership. HBCUs. Trump was the first president to give them like funding in perpetuity and so forth. Every single, look them up, every single one, just like the Underground Railroad, just like abolition, every single one was founded by white and usually Christians, men and women. Not possible. Underground Railroad, not possible without it. But the HBCUs, look up, I think Kamala went to Howard. I think Howard was where LBJ made the famous speech. You don't take somebody in shackled and then put them in a race after they take the shackles off and say, go ahead and try to run. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? Every single race that's won in our Olympics since Jesse Owens has been a black man. So I don't know, maybe a better metaphor, LBJ, I don't know. But anyway, you get the point. But so they went to Howard University, and I think that's where he made that speech. So I looked up, who started Howard? Oh, it was a white Republican general named Howard who started, just like all these schools, just like the guys who helped out Booker T. Washington start the Tuskegee Institute. So back to the Redskins real quick. I thought they should be called the Red Tails. And I looked at people who've thought about it as well online, and they designed logos. The Tuskegee Airmen, which was a highly decorated, highly desired and sought after heroic. Watch the movie, read the book. They were the escort fighter pilots for our bombers in World War II, and they painted a bright red tail on their planes, so they were called the Red Tails. So you've already got the word red. NFL, geniuses. So put down the bucket of paint where you're painting end racism, and it takes all of us and all the other caca de la vaca cow crap of the Black Panther Party, where they're just taking money and accomplishing nothing, and call them the Red Tails. You could have your cheerleaders dressed like the USO or the Andrews Sisters or something. You could have real Tuskegee Airmen at the dedication. What a cool logo to have that airplane with the red tail, the Washington Red Tails. And we gave a tribute to the greatest generation and the Tuskegee Airmen. Nope, we'll call ourselves the Commanders. They actually, I couldn't get them on the phone, email, text, nothing. They won't answer the phone because they don't want to. They don't want to talk about it. They just want to throw money. I gave at the office. Hey, look, I already gave you $1 million and painted "Love Wins" on your helmets. What do you want from me? Why not? Why not the Washington Redskins? And then you can change another team back to Indians instead of stupid-ass Guardians or something. Or have make a college the Redskins. If the granddaughter of the guy who posed for that classic iconic image on the side of their helmets, if that's really true, and she wanted it, why do you take, they take it away from them. They slap the blacks in the face, just like it says in 2 Corinthians, and they slap the Indians in the face, and they slap the whites in the face. I mean, what's that called? The Triple Crown? Why not? Oh, we're going to call them the Commanders because, because we're commanders. We're the commanders. Washington, D.C. are the commanders of planet Earth. And you, by extension. So, anyway, what does the MLB? What does the MLB do? Major League Baseball. They move the All-Star game out of Atlanta, the home of Hank Aaron, the place where he broke Babe Ruth's record, as Vin Scully made the classic call. They move it to Lily White, Denver, stupid purple, pink Colorado. Blue no matter who, Colorado. White, stupid, white, racist. They move it there. That'll show Atlanta. That'll show. And what did they do to all the people that worked for them and had a chance to have Hank Aaron be honored at that event? Well, why were they doing that? Why did they just have to do that? Just like they just had to end racism and take a knee. Blah, blah, blah. Why? Because of Jim Crow. Georgia was trying to make people show ID to vote. Something that polls 80-something% with minorities of each color. So that they're going to show them. Jim Crow was a Democrat. Jim Crow was a Democrat. And you have these House N-words like Hakeem Hussein Jeffries, I guess. He's complaining about showing ID is equal to Jim Crow. No, dude, your plantation master was Jim Crow. All of that stuff was when a guy from the South, named happened to be Strom Thurmond, and he became a Republican later, just like Byrd never stopped being a Democrat. He was the grand wizard, dragon, grand poobah of the KKK. So Hakeem Jeffrey, he's going to try to make it seem like this is that voter ID is what did the Einstein, Kami Lila Harris, she said she's the most qualified ever. Excuse me. Like, I got to get a bucket around here to throw up in or something. My God. That's what she said. She said she was the most qualified. I think she meant unqualified or disqualified. She got 0 votes, 0 electoral votes. And then all of a sudden, boom, she's in because we can't dump her. She probably put Biden over the top. So we can't just dump her now, even though we should have. She's the... What did she get out of Howard University? I don't know. Not one of these things was done without white people. Liberia is a country in Africa. The capital is Monrovia, named after James Monroe, because the British and Americans were taking slave ships, slave traders, and dropping them off in Liberia and setting them up with their own country. First time ever that they had their own country. Remember this famous movie called Amistad? That was a Portuguese ship, I guess. It means friendship. They hired an African actor to play this guy. What was his name? Shoot, I'm going to mess up his name. But, Anthony Hopkins, I think his name is, the actor. Yeah. He played John Quincy Adams, who defended them in court and won their Chinque, I think his name was. But anyway, so in the true story of this, what they did is they sort of hijacked their slave ship, and they tried to sail to Boston, but they didn't make it. They made it somewhere else, and they got arrested, and they're like, well, we're going to take you back and make you slaves again. And John Quincy Adams argued for them, and they wound up being free. So, what's the moral of the story? The end of the story, he became a slave trader. He became a slave trader. So the Black Panther Party, 1970s, a show called Roots came out. Alex Haley, I think he was a Navy veteran. He wrote this book, and I had a funny feeling about it because all it was lies, CRT revision. The whites are bad, and the slaves are poor, just poor guys. The whites went into their huts and took these sub-Saharan Africans and just dragged them out of their house, and wrong. And everybody in the movie was a Christian, white Christian hypocrite. These are the ones who created Liberia. William Wilberforce. These are the ones who saved the day. But they made him in the movie, Chuck Connors and that other guy from Mary Tyler Moore, Ed Asner, whatever. These were hypocrites, Christians who, raped the slaves and everything like that. And who sold them into slavery? Well, their fellow Africans. We didn't just go run into the huts and drag them out. They pulled up to the dock and bought them. It was just a commodity. Because every culture, when they captured their other tribe, they would make them slaves. And sometimes they'd sell them. It's more profitable to sell them than keep them. Why keep them around? We got plenty of them. And the Muslims were the biggest slave traders. They traded every color. That's why the Marines, and there's a lot of black Marines, that's why the hymn says to the shores of Tripoli. Because we had to go down there, just like we had to go to Somalia and we had to go to Iran and everywhere else. And the Muslims, the good Muslims, were taking our people, all Europeans, just taking the stuff off the ship, selling it or keeping it, making the people into slaves. Yes, every color. I guess you would call Muslims, most North Africans, you'd call them white, I guess. But, and so I saw Alex Haley. I wondered about what kind of a scam is this show? Very popular. It was a mini-series, huge, all-star cast. Kunta Kinte, LeVar Burton, and the guy from Good Times, and a big buff guy, and everybody was in it. Everybody was in it. Leslie Uggams. Everybody was in that show. Every white and black actor that there was. And my name is Kunta Kinte, and they changed his name to Toby, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But just so I saw Alex Haley after he became a Godzillionaire because of that caca de la vaca, that lie. What's the point? I mean, the stories are great to begin with. It's like when Hollywood makes a movie about the Bible, and they have Mary saying things that Judas said, and they have Jesus saying things that Mary said, and vice versa, and Judas saying things that Peter said, and Satan saying things that Luke said. I mean, why don't you just stick to the script? It's a lot better than what you came up with. Like this movie Odyssey that's coming out, like all the movies they make now. It doesn't do anything for anybody to scramble it around. It's so patronizing. Do you think you help somebody by patronizing the Black Panther Party? Pure religion is the truth versus hypocrites, phonies, actors, hypocrites. Jesus called the religion, the high priests of the day, he called them hypocrites. It's a Greek word, hypo, under, behind, kritis, a mask. To speak from behind a mask. He was basically saying, you're phony, you're actors. You actors. He called them snakes. White Christians gave everything for their brothers and sisters. They saw them as brothers and sisters. Blacks. They started the schools. They paid with their lives. They helped them to run as Republicans. They tried to vote as Republicans. And the Christian framework of the blacks in the slavery experience was one of Judeo-Christian. They called Harriet Tubman Moses. They called Lincoln Father Abraham. They didn't call him Father Muhammad. So these CRT lies, this revisionist lying, and we got to go back to that great parable that Lincoln said. He said, here's what they're like, the leftist Democrats. Here's what they're like. They're like a guy holding up a stagecoach. Everybody get out. Give me all your valuables. And if you don't, I'll shoot you. And then you'll be guilty of murder. It's just a shakedown. It's a game. Ron DeSantis or something, he says, we're not going to have these CRT textbooks. Pete Hegseth says, we're not going to have this race teaching that whites are bad, inherently evil. That comes out of Nation of Islam. Watch Muhammad Ali on TV being interviewed by William F. Buckley. It's great, way back in the day. You know, Nation of Islam, this cult that came out of thin air, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he said that the white race was invented by a mad scientist. I mean, it's just bat caca crazy crap. You know? Jesus called these Pharisees, these phonies, these actors, Revenue Sharpton and Revenue Jesse Jackson and who was that guy, Revenue Right Wrong, Obama's personal pastor, who said, "God damn America," teaching people to hate their brother and their country. So, but you know, when they talked about Harriet Tubman, they called her Moses. They were united with the founders of the country, Jefferson and Franklin. They wanted Moses on our national seal, not an eagle, but Moses leading the slaves out of Egypt. That was what they wanted Moses is carved onto the Supreme Court building. So it's always two choices. And how could anyone divide us? What about religion with blacks? And, you know, blacks and Jews, shouldn't they be together? Jews were the slaves first. Moses was a Jew. Abraham was a Jew. They called Lincoln Father Abraham. They called Harriet Tubman Moses. But there's two kinds of Jews, just like there's two kinds of everything. There's only two races, decent and indecent. Jonathan Stewart Leibowitz, he has Mom Dummy on, who's an anti-Semitic Muslim communist. He has him on and he's just drooling on him and rubbing his thigh and putting his nose in his crack, and it's saying, he called him Jackie Robinson. Do you know anything about Jackie Robinson? What are you doing? You know, there's a very interesting video of a guy named Ami Horowitz. He makes videos he goes man on the street and interviews. He interviews people at Berkeley and says, do you think it's racist to ask for ID? Oh, yes, absolutely, because that's what Kamala said. What did Kamala say? They don't know where a Xerox machine is. And then she had to clarify, I'm talking about rural areas. What? You think, by the way, how long has she been in the know, in the swing of things? And cool. She knows what a Xerox machine is. My God, I haven't heard that since I was a kid. That's her level of intellect and involvement. And that's what she's saying, that they can't get IDs. The Governor Hochulaga of New York said that blacks don't know what computers are. Biden said they can't. This was clever. He must have stayed up all night memorizing this. They can't go online to find out how to get in line. Oh, really? That's how they are. That's how them darkies are, huh? But if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. And you guys go along with it. Your leaders, Charlatan Defraud and the View and all these people, you go along with that? Are you kidding me? You know, Libelitless doesn't even speak for Jews, let alone blacks. Jackie Robinson was a hero. He was in the military. He got court-martialed for standing up for their civil rights. He was a great, great man. He wasn't Mom Dummy, a stupid failed rapper with multimillionaire parents who smiles his way in when catches people sleeping and sleep at the switch at the ballot box. Have a Democrat explain to you how you can be a socialist, communist, Islamist, and be a Democrat. Why don't they get rid of that name? Why don't they have, those parties have something? So there's this place called, like, speaking of the Washington Redskins, there's a university called Washington and Lee University. And my effort and my desire, one of my dreams, is to get rid of any kind of Democrat name of a Confederate hero, like Fort Hood, where the shooting was by that Islamic nut job in the psychiatrist whack job. Figure that out. Fort Hood. It was a gun-free zone, and he goes in and shoots everybody. That's brilliant. But that's named after a Confederate hero, a traitor. We should have no name. So there's this Washington and Lee University. And I tried to get a hold of him because I found out, I was reading an article online, that the president of the Black Lawyers Law School Students Association at Washington and Lee University, I want to get rid of the name Lee. We'll get rid of the name Washington. No, they were not the same person. They were related. But one of them killed 300,000 Republicans and 250,000 Democrats trying to keep slavery. He was a traitor. He swore an oath to the United States, and then he joined the Democrat states, which they called back then the Confederate States. 100% Democrat. They believed in states' rights. States' rights to do what? To treat people like property. To breed with them. To whip them. To sell them. To have kids with them and then sell the offspring so that your wife don't find out. Well, she knows. So are they... I mean, you don't breed with your cows and sell them. So are they animals? Are they chattel? Are they property? That's what Lee believed. And so Washington and Lee University. So he wants to get rid of the name Lee. Good for him. I tried and tried and tried. I wanted to send him money. I wanted to give him encouragement. They won't pick up the phone. They won't answer the email. So, we can talk about these things, but we got to do something too, right? We gotta do something besides talk. Talk is cheap. This is the Jeremiah Gunn Show. Thank you so much for listening to the Jeremiah Gunn Show. We're gonna pick it up next time. I guess it would be part 5. F the Hive 5. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you so much. Jeremiah Gunn, signing off.